Hello, this is Dr. Andrew J. A.J. Williams, and welcome back to Straight Talk about PTSD. This presentation is going to be about hyperarousal and the high road versus the low road brain. And basically what it's about is how the brain adapts to trauma. The adapting of the brain to life experience, as represented by living memory, allows the brain to fine-tune itself to the environment a person has experienced and in which they presumably will be continuing to live. The human brain is incredibly complex in its various structures, substructures, and chemistry. Its various regions are also highly interconnected. It takes a career of dedicated study to understand the structure and function of the human brain at any real level of completeness or complexity. But when we talk about the brain with respect to attachment and other trauma, there are several primary structures and functions which trauma seems to affect the most. These structures, their functions, and the effects of trauma upon them are actually fairly well known to behavioral neuroscientists. We will be restricting our discussion of attachment, trauma, and the brain to these prominently affected structures and functions. The point of going through this as Straight Talk about PTSD is not just for the sake of understanding trauma. For me, the even greater point is that the most successful treatment of PTSD and similar post-traumatic adaptations relies on undoing or finding ways around the changes trauma makes to the brain. If the brain does not change in a positive direction, it's difficult for our negative perceptual biases, our tendency to see everything in dangerous terms, our sense of constant danger, our elevated stress chemistry levels, our nightmares, and our behavior to actually change. The primary brain adaptation to trauma is simply the brain's storage of traumatic experiences as supersized memories. These supersized memories both build our guiding maps of life with an emphasis on life's dangers, and they tune our brains to stay safe and survive in this dangerous world. Trauma memories also motivate the brain to physically overdevelop our danger detection and response system and keep it running on high energy, high alert status 24/7/52. This hyperactivation of our danger detection and response system is a fundamental cornerstone adaptation in PTSD and similar conditions. It is known as hyperarousal. Living trauma memories constantly stimulate hyperarousal, and since they share the same stress chemistry and intense negative emotions at their core, hyperarousal constantly stimulates trauma memories. Each makes the other more intense, stronger, and more entrenched, especially at the automatic, unconscious level of brain functioning. Researchers have also speculated that this mutual triggering and strengthening of hyperarousal and trauma memories also means that hyperarousal will likely protect any trauma memories from any efforts to change or weaken these memories that are driving our post-traumatic adaptations. Trauma memories egg hyperarousal on, and hyperarousal then serves as a bodyguard for traumatic memories. This explains at least a big part of why it seems so hard to work therapeutically with trauma memories when clients are still hyperaroused. Hyperarousal also keeps those trauma memories agitated and those danger-colored glasses on your face 24/7. Strong trauma memories mean you're also more likely to be readily triggered should signs of previous trauma reappear. Now, this is okay when you actually live in a very dangerous environment where safety and survival are at constant moment-by-moment risk, and it really pays to stay on high alert day and night in such an environment. But our peace in other, kinder, gentler environments, and with human needs for love and intimacy and the like, however, these suffer greatly. This mutual strengthening of trauma memories and hyperarousal is also why so many more comprehensive, clinician-created post-traumatic treatment strategies, including my own, include relaxation training, biofeedback, or neurofeedback to reduce hyperarousal, to reduce its bodyguard capacity, and to increase the likelihood of success with an overall treatment regimen. This mutual strengthening of hyperarousal and trauma memories is also why time will not necessarily heal all wounds. It's also why so many people post-traumatically avoid potential reminders, avoid similar situations, and avoid triggers. Unfortunately, that means that so many post-traumatically adapted people who are avoiding these things also end up basically feeling the need to avoid so much of what goes into a full quality life, simply to keep from getting even more painfully wound up and keep from getting triggered. So, what does all this have to do with the integrity and functioning of the brain? First of all, this means that the primitive brain structures which hold traumatic memories detect signs of danger from incoming life data from our bodies and our senses, which run our fight-flight responses and release our stress chemistry, are using up too much of our energy and blood nutrients. The adult brain can generate anywhere from 18 to 25 watts of total power at any given moment. And if our danger detection and response system are hogging, say, 10 to 15 of those watts, there's just not much left over for thinking, planning, weighing options, being compassionate and emotionally connected to others, looking for the good in others, running the body, etc. Back in the 1990s, Dr. Joseph Ledoux and his colleagues began developing their high road versus low road model of the human brain. I believe that this model is still quite valid for the purpose of understanding the effects of attachment trauma and other trauma on the brain and its functioning. The low-road brain structures develop earliest. They are sometimes called the mammal brain or limbic system. For our purposes, the low-road brain is primarily involved in our safety and survival needs, our animal instincts, our detection of and our reflexive responses to danger. This low-road brain is where both fight, flight, freeze responses and stress chemistry releases are initiated. The low-road brain holds our trauma memories in their rawest and most emotionally intense form and uses them to detect and react to danger during the memory sweep, when incoming data is swept through and compared to our memory banks, looking for matches that would explain what's going on and what we need to do about it. The low-road brain does not truly stop and think or analyze. It does not plan. Negative emotions such as rage and fear both live here in the low-road brain and are generated from it. The low-road brain becomes aware of incoming data much, much faster than the rest of the brain. It's the first to get the memo. So, in a post-traumatically adapted person, the low-road brain is already responding by the time the rest of the brain gets the memo that something is happening. And when the low-road brain dominates how your mind views the world, the person you experience yourself as being, well, those are similarly negativistic, and they leave a person feeling fundamentally alone in a hostile universe. By contrast with the low-road brain, The high road brain does hold some trauma memory, but primarily in picture, sensory, and sound form, and less so in the form of intense negative emotions. The high road brain receives much the same incoming data during the memory sweep from the environment, through your senses, and through your body. But its awareness, the high road brain's awareness, is much slower than the low road brain's awareness to occur. The high road brain is also our thinking and planning brain, the part of the brain that integrates information and inputs from all over the rest of the brain and creates the big picture. It is the high road brain which creates and considers options and possibilities and makes deliberate conscious choices. The high road brain sees the future well beyond the present moment. The low road brain is stuck in the present moment. The high road brain also houses the structures responsible for human emotional connection, emotional understanding, and compassion. The high road brain thus does our higher level thinking and feeling. The low road brain and the high road brain are seriously interconnected, and it's a two-way connection that allows each to inhibit the other. If the low road brain senses serious danger, it can inhibit the high road brain from taking too long to consider all potential possibilities and make reasoned decisions about whether or not you can outrun the tiger. The low road brain will likely simply take over, scream tiger, and run like blazes for the cave, hoping to at least outrun one other person. The high road brain, on the other hand, can stop and think things through before just going on with a reflexive reaction. Each of these brains, the high road and the low road, has its specialties. Each has its place. The low road brain, however, because it develops and matures first in life, holds our earliest life experiences and our trauma memories in their most powerful forms, and is specialized for detecting and reacting to danger and releasing stress chemistry. The low road brain is where hyperarousal becomes established, becomes dominant, and, relatively speaking, runs the brain show post-traumatically. Hyperarousal, in addition to agitating, strengthening, and preserving traumatic memories, also has another trick up its sleeve. The stress chemistry of hyperarousal is excitatory and, necessary from time to time. But elevated stress chemistry over extended periods of time has an adverse effect on the high road's brain cells, especially the inhibitory cells, which might otherwise keep the low road's negativistic perceptions, impulses, emotions, and reactions in check. In other words, the low road brain's hyperarousal ends up wounding, impairing, or even killing off the high road competition's inhibitory brain cells via chemical warfare. It's crude, but it's effective, especially if domination and personal survival are your ultimate life goals. Now, the consequence of hyperarousal's negative effect on high road brain cells and functioning has a name. It's called hypofrontality. Hypo meaning the frontal part of the brain isn't working as well. Hypofrontality means basically that you're underperforming in your higher level thinking and compassionate high road brain. Hyperarousal means that your high road brain will consistently underperform, while your low road brain will overperform, especially under perceived stress. Hyperarousal and hypofrontality together means that people with chronic PTSD and similar long-term post-traumatic conditions will have trouble with a number of functionings requiring optimal brain functioning in both the high and the low road. And those functions include such things as quality and restorative sleep, balancing hormones, and maintaining physical health. Exercising good judgment and making considered, rational decisions. Being able to simply stop and think or to calm down when you're upset. Experiencing a realistic yet hopeful future. Being compassionate and emotionally connected with others. Maintaining or enjoying a secure attachment. Avoiding depression, anxiety, addictions, high-risk behaviors and enterprises. Addressing memories and nightmares in psychotherapy. Making enduring positive changes in psychotherapy or other psychological interventions. Experiencing emotional and interpersonal peace, that is, having intimate peace. Experiencing subtler stimulation and achieving more normal levels of pleasure from more normal levels of stimulation. Got to be overstimmed. Before we leave you feeling doomed to living hell if you or your loved one has a significant history of attachment, sexual, physical, community violence, combat, accident, or other trauma, please be aware that there are effective, if not yet mainstream, ways of effectively reducing hyperarousal and stimulating the brain to begin repairing whatever hypofrontality or other damage has been done. Our next presentation will be about a special and very important type of brain cell called mirror neurons. As always, I hope that you have found this Straight Talk About PTSD presentation accurate and illuminating. If you'd like to subscribe, just hit the subscribe button below. If you'd like to be notified of future Straight Talk About PTSD presentations as they are uploaded, please hit the bell icon as well. Thanks, and I hope to see you later.